We don't see the ways that they have chosen colors or the ways that they've chosen metals or the way that it interacts with the room beyond the scope of the picture. We don't see how they're using grandma's inherited piece or going thrifting in order to find the thing that then is the perfect component on the wall. We don't see any of that process, and we definitely don't see the order of importance. What did they do first? All we see is the end result. And that end result, when we compare it to our beginning, it's not really an equal matchup. We grew up with the phrase, home is where the heart is, but our culture has shifted, and now the message is, home should be Pinterest perfect. I'm calling BS on that message. Home, it's not about the stuff, it's about the story. And whether you know it or not, your home is a reflection of you and is already saying something. So what is it that you want it to say? Hey, I'm Danny, a former first grade teacher turned home decorator. Going from a dual income to a single income so I could stay home with my babies meant budget, like ramen eating, Goodwill shopping budget. And I learned a few things along the way, like how to bring big style to your home without breaking the bank. And I'm sharing it all with you. Tips, tricks, decor, and design advice so you can learn to tell your story with your style, where you can start living free from the Pinterest perfect trap and start living a life of intention. Welcome to Fig and Farm at Home, where we design happy living and where it doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. I heard this quote the other day, and it made me immediately think of all of you. And I don't remember where it was at, if I watched it or read it, but it really struck me, and it caused me to stop in my tracks, and I haven't been able to get it out of my mind. And that quote is something like, and I'm going to butcher it, second guessing isn't a character flaw. It's a learned response. Let me say that again. Second guessing isn't a character flaw. It's a learned response. And I think about the way that we second guess in all kinds of things, right? You go to a restaurant and you get something that you think is going to be good and it turns out pretty rotten. Well, you might second guess taking the risk. You're going to go back for that tried and true pizza dish, or you're going to go back for that pasta dish, that same thing, but you took that risk that one time and now you're second guessing all decisions. Or maybe you tried a new outfit when normally you are comfortable in your jeans and your tennies and your t-shirt, which I'm raising my hand over here. But you decide you're going to go out on a limb and you're going to wear the heels and you're going to wear not only the lip stuff, you're going to do your hair and you're going to wear a sweater. And you go out on a limb and, oh, wouldn't you know, you're super uncomfortable because you've eaten the pizza, you're now uncomfortable, you're bloated and you're gassy, and now you're sitting there kind of second guessing all of the decisions. But this, and I'm being a little bit facetious here, but the number of women I have chatted with over the course of however many years I've been doing this, one of the things I hear them saying why they stay stuck is because they second guess. They second guess a lot of the decisions a lot of the time because they made a mistake one time. And when they make that mistake that one time, they then become a little hesitant, a little reluctant, a little gun shy, a little bit worried about maybe pulling out their credit card the next time. So the second guessing isn't the character flaw. It's a learned response to a mistake that they've made. And I am air quoting mistake. It's a learned response to a decision they made that they weren't quite happy with. And that, of course, can happen in anything. Vacations you go on, food you eat, things you wear, dates you go on, schools you try, money you borrow, you name it, you can second guess anything based on a poor experience. And that is no less true in home decorating. And so it made me think about all of you who are worried about second guessing, who are maybe on Pinterest and this is new year, new you, and are you guys tired of that phrase yet? New year, new you, and your intention is to create a beautiful home, one that you delight in. But the goals to getting that, those action steps, the tangible, tactical actions that you're going to do in order to get that, they have not yet been planned out because you are second guessing, because you have a learned experience that is kind of making you pause a teeny tiny bit. But your Pinterest boards are completely full. There is no shortage of inspiration. But what I want to say to you is a couple things. One is inspiration does not equal clarity. and it definitely does not equal action. And two, and this is where Danny gets on her little soapbox for a minute, you are not broken. You are not flawed because you've made a decision that didn't quite work in your favor. You are not bad at decorating. And you are not destined to make another mistake. So in today's episode, if I do nothing else, I want to encourage you to stop thinking that every decision needs to be overthought, that every decision is overwhelming, confusing, tiresome, frustrating. You name the negative action. So today I'm putting a little bit of power back into your hands, and here is what I propose. Now, you might have thought that my allusion to Pinterest being full of inspiration and no action means that I don't like Pinterest, but actually I love Pinterest. But I love Pinterest when we approach it with intention. And one of the things that I teach my students or my clients is that when Pinterest is used well, it can actually be a design tool. It can be a reference point, kind of like a recipe. And that's how I approach Pinterest. So we're not going to rabbit hole it. We're not going to just put in some search term and expect great things to happen, because honestly, that is where the clarity doesn't come into play. That is when we can continue adding the overwhelm. When you have 100 beautiful pictures staring back at you and you think, well, that's great, there are 100 beautiful pictures, you have proved one thing and one thing only, and that is you can recognize beauty. And fantastic, honestly, if you can recognize beauty, great. That is a really great first step. But now what happens after that? So what Pinterest is missing, Pinterest is, possibility in picture form, right? It is inspiration, and it is like ideas waiting to take form. But we, as the people who peruse Pinterest, are the ones who have to then take action on it. And I'm not going to teach you how to take action on it today. What I am going to teach you is this idea of why we might want to use it, why we might want it as a tool in our tool belt. But every image you have on Pinterest, what you don't see is you don't necessarily see the before, which is always fun, right? Every once in a while, you'll find an image on Pinterest where you see the before and after. And I have to say, I love, love, love looking at those. In fact, one of the things I love doing is I look on Pinterest, I find the before picture, and I don't want to see the after yet. What I want to do is design it in my head and think, oh, how would I rearrange that room? Or how would I reconstruct that room? What would I do to it? And of course, I'm not knocking down walls. I'm just kind of thinking about colors I'd add and textiles and all the things. And then I look at the before and see, oh, okay. It kind of confirms that I do not necessarily know what I'm talking about, but I do have a little bit, like my decision-making skills are okay. But in those pictures, in those polished pictures, of course, we all know that they're staged, right? We all know that some of them now are more AI generated than not. But what we also know is that these are kind of that Pinterest perfect. No one is putting their yucky living rooms on Pinterest for the world to see. No one is doing that. They're putting the polished pictures on there. But what we're missing when we see those and we use those as our example, as our end point, as our inspiration, even though I teach my clients that I do want to see an inspiration photo, what we're missing are the steps it took to get there. We don't see the before. We don't see how that person, whoever owned that room, has come to an understanding of what their personal design style is. We don't see that they have assessed their room to see how it's functioning for them or what it's doing with the furniture in order to meet the needs of the room. Can it support the activities that they want it to? We didn't see that process happen. We didn't see the lists of needs versus wants, and if they're redesigning a living room, that they actually needed way more seating than they started with. We don't see the ways that they have chosen colors or the ways that they've chosen metals or the way that it interacts with the room beyond the scope of the picture. We don't see how they're using grandma's inherited piece or going thrifting in order to find the thing that then is the perfect component on the wall. We don't see any of that process, and we definitely don't see the order of importance. What did they do first? All we see is the end result. And that end result, when we compare it to our beginning, it's not really an equal matchup. It's not really an equal thing, because the process for you to get to that end point is going to require all of the things I just mentioned that we don't see when we're looking at a beautiful Pinterest picture. It's going to require a little bit of intentionality. And sometimes I say that and I group it into this big word thing, but you don't necessarily know what that means. And when you get in alignment with what your intentionality is, what you want your room to feel like, what your design style is, and you can name those design elements that make up your overall design style, you can then start using those things as a filter for all decision making. And wow, does it make it so much easier. And Pinterest can help us with that. Even those beautiful polished pictures that we gravitate to at the very end. Inspiration can sometimes equal overwhelm. Inspiration, when you have too much of it, can sometimes equal frustration or decision fatigue or analysis paralysis or comparisonitis. Doesn't that remind you of a Shel Silverstein book? You know, the Where the Sidewalk Ends. Do you remember that? Those kind of fanciful made up words. The Saturday School is the poem I'm thinking about, where I'm totally going on a tangent, and this is beckoning back to my first grade teaching days, but where that little kid comes up with all of these fake diseases about why he is not feeling well, and then he comes to realize it's Saturday. Oh, it's Saturday, I can go out and play. And comparisonitis and analysis paralysis, those sound like that Shel Silverstein poem to me. But they are real things. They're tangible things. They are things that cause us to stop in our tracks and to second guess. So I want to boost you with a little bit of confidence today. I have a free design guide for all of you. It is just a quick, and by guide, it is a 10 to 12 minute video where I teach you how to use Pinterest in order to understand your design style. It literally is the very, very, very first thing I do when I teach a workshop, when I work with a client. If I'm not teaching them that specific skill, I am definitely asking them questions and getting it out of them. This is just a quick 12-minute video, but it walks you through how I use Pinterest and how I want you to use Pinterest, and how we're looking a little bit more at the design details rather than the high up perspective. So let's just imagine for a second. Close your eyes if you're at home, keep them open if you're driving. I want you to imagine that you are a bird. And you are really, really, really high up in the sky, and you're looking down, and let's say we're looking at a football field. And if you're a bird and you're looking at a football field, you're going to see like a postage-sized size green space, because that's where the football field is. And it looks like a great place to land, right? It looks like a nice landing spot. Maybe you and your buddies can go and you can, I don't know, peck at some grass. But then as you get closer, you realize that, that not only the football field is coming into view, but you can see a track around it, and there are some little specks on the football field. And as you get a little closer, you realize, those specks are moving, and they're vibrantly colored. And also, why do they look ginormous? The football pads really are a thing, right? They're really big. And as you get closer and closer and closer, you're starting to see the fine details. You're starting to see the colors of the uniforms. You're starting to see that there are so many different players on two different teams, two different colors. You're starting to see that the stands are full of people. You're starting to see that right beside the football field, there are cars, and those cars are different colors, and those cars are different shapes. And as you get closer and closer and closer in, you start realizing, there are lines on the field and numbers on the lines, and you get the idea, right? Bird's eye view is high and distorted, and as you get closer and closer, you get in tune with the fine details. And that's what we want to do when we learn your personal design style. So taking a quiz, when you see those quizzes on Pinterest, or you see those, they might pop up in a design magazine or what have you, those are really fun, but they don't really teach you what your design style is, because you still have to then interpret what it is that we'll say modern farmhouse. Let's say that is what your result came back as. What in the world does that mean? If I took you and your 5 best friends and I asked you very privately, very separately, what does it mean to you when I say modern farmhouse? Tell me what that looks like. And I were to grab pictures and pull product and grab, even draw it, take pictures, whatever. I was putting a visual to the words you're describing. I bet it would look like a very fun game of telephone. Do you remember that game where you say something in one person's ear, it's a phrase, and then you get all the way down to the end and it's distorted? That's what happens when we take a word, a global word like a design style, modern farmhouse, shabby chic, cottagecore, and we start putting our own phrase to it. It's going to be, the perception of it is going to be very different than that of the person next to you. with maybe some similarities, but your design style is as unique to you as your fingerprint. It is those fine details, no bird's eye view. It is really up close and personal. And when you know that, when you know your design style, when you can say, these are the elements I like, these are the metals I like, the wood tones I like warm versus cool, I like these colors, I like these details, like nail head trim or tassels, I like vintage-esque rugs, I don't really like geometric prints. You see where I'm going here. When you can identify all of those things, that puts a name and a label on your design style. And when you know those, going to the store to pick a pillow doesn't become so daunting. It doesn't become so overwhelming or frustrating. And it doesn't become one of those things where you are second guessing every decision because of the one that previously caused you to pause. So what do we do with that? In this new year, as you are embracing your very new you, and as you are, I hope, wanting to create a space that really you delight in and one that reflects your story, I want you to do it with more intention. And so this year I'm gifting you that free learn your design style guide so that you can walk away with a lot more confidence than you walked into this year with. So that you can have those filters at your fingertips the next time you go to Target, the next time you go to Home Goods, because you never know what you're going to get at Home Goods, right? You never know. We can expect when we go to Target, we're going to see the same kind of Shea McGee Hearth and Hand items that are very monochromatic in their color story. That's great. We don't know what we're going to see when we go to Home Goods. It is as fun as going to a thrift store. You just never know what's going to be on the shelf. But when we are bombarded, especially in the US, when we're bombarded by so many decisions, it can be overwhelming. And so I want to gift you with a little bit of simplicity by understanding your design style. Now, before we go, and before we say, yes, Pinterest is a great tool. I want you to use it. I want you to use it well. And I teach you how to do that in that design guide. But what I want to caution you against is this same tale I've been telling for the past umpteen years about using Pinterest as a copycat, using Pinterest as a way to make your decisions easier in that you're going to be copying one design into your own home. And just like when we approach a beautiful picture and we don't know really the backstory behind it, we don't know what decisions were made, we don't know what they started like, we don't know what color story they went with, we don't know what they were starting with inherited furniture versus bought, none of that. We have no context for that. That is very true for these pictures that you are now taking and replicating in your own home. And what happens is that picture, though lovely, and you do a great job of recognizing those beautiful pictures, but the translation from that picture into your home doesn't necessarily translate. There's a disconnect there. And that disconnect happens for so many reasons. It happens because maybe the lighting is different. The lighting is different between that beautiful picture, Pinterest picture, and your home. Maybe the structure of the walls is different. In fact, this is something I teach my clients, that we have to be realistic when we're pinning inspiration photos, because although we can't find one that looks exactly like our home, what we don't want to do is pin all of these photos that have, we'll just say, brick interior, and you have no brick interior. That isn't necessarily aligned with the reality of the structure of your home. Sometimes it is the scale of furniture or art or walls, and you realize that beautiful picture you're drawn to has cathedral ceilings, but you have really rather boxy, short ceilings, 8-foot ceilings. Not bad, but a different perspective. So taking a picture and saying, I love that, I recognize that as beauty, and I'm going to just copy everything and put it into my home, that, my friend, can lead to second guessing. That can lead to an experience that doesn't quite turn out the way that you want it to, and then alter next steps another time. It can alter your confidence moving forward, because once you do that and you translate it and that translation doesn't work as well as it did in that picture, it just leads to more confusion, more frustration, more analysis paralysis, more comparisonitis, more of that Shel Silverstein, this is what we think about our home decorating. It leads to more of that and a lot more hesitation. And this year, friend, we are building confidence. And Your design confidence, your decorating confidence first starts by knowing your design style, knowing your own personal, unique to you design style. Not the style that Danny has, not the style that Joanna Gaines has, not the style that you see in that beautiful Pinterest picture, but your style. All right, friend, again, you can come and grab that guide by going to bit.ly/FF-Design-Bestie. And that will be delivered right to you. You can watch it. Get some popcorn. 12 minutes long. Not bad. All right, friend, until next time, where we are going to continue building our decision-making confidence, where we are going to learn how to stop second-guessing ourselves and walk into confidence and intentionality in our homes. I will see you soon. Hey, real quick before you go, if you learned something new or found value in today's podcast, would you head over to iTunes to Fig and Farm at Home and leave a review and subscribe to the show? That would be awesome. And if you'd like to connect with my community of mamas who are learning to be intentional storytellers within their own homes, join us at bit.ly/design101 group. There's always more room at the table. See you soon.